Now we will move on to the next one across the room here, and this holds all my, well, a lot of my middle grade books, but all of my children's books as well. I'm not going to go into detail on the children's books. If anybody is interested, I can do a separate bookshelf tour for those, but unless I know someone's interested, I'm not going to bother going through them. So here's the top shelf of my middle grade section. First we have Island of the Blue Dolphins by Scott Odell, Japanese Fairy Tales edited by Philip Smith, The Reluctant Dragon by Ernest H. Shepard and Kenneth Graham, Scones and Sensibility by Lindsay Eland, The Mysterious Benedict Society and The Prisoner's Dilemma. This is the only one of the series I have. Wonderstruck and The Invention of Hugo Cabret, both by Brian Selznick. Fantastic books. Falling Up, A Light in the Attic, Where the Sidewalk Ends, and The Giving Tree, all by Shel Silverstein. Can you tell I'm a little bit of a fan? James and the Giant Peach by Roald Dahl, of course. It's not a dust jacket anymore, but there are some beautiful illustrations in here that apparently I drew on as a child. Matilda and the Witches, also by Roald Dahl. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. The Mrs. Pigwiggle Treasury by Betty MacDonald, illustrated by Hilary Knight. The Trumpet of the Swan and Stuart Little, both by E.B. White. Falling In by Francis O'Rourke Dowell. Lioness, The Well Between the Worlds by Sam Llewellyn. Half Magic by Edward Eager. Liesl and Poe by Lauren Oliver. The Wide Awake Princess by E.D. Baker. Wish Stealers by Tracy Trivis. 13 Treasures by Michelle Harrison. The Magic Half by Annie Barrows. The Cricket in Times Square by George Selden. Special edition of The Seeing Stone from the Spiderwick Chronicles by Tony Ditterlizzi and Holly Black. The Great Escape. The first volume of the Spiderwick Chronicles by Tony Ditterlizzi and Holly Black. The Field Guide. Sinbad's 7 Voyages. Bree Told by Gladys Davidson. The Princess and the Goblin by George MacDonald. Dame Wiggins of Lee and Her 7 Wonderful Cats by Thomas Crowell, illustrated by Patience Brewster. Pippi Longstocking by Astrid Lindgren. Ramona the Pest by Beverly Cleary. My Father's Dragon by Ruth Stiles Gannett, illustrated by Ruth Krisman Gannett. Poppy by AVI. Judy Moody Goes to College. The Chocolate Touch by Patrick Skeen Catling. The Boxcar Children Book 1 by Gertrude Chandler Warner. The Owl Service by Alan Garner. Sideways Stories from Wayside School by Louis Soccer. Holes by Louis Soccer. Hatchet by Gary Paulson. Harris and Me by Gary Paulson. From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler by E.L. Koenigsberg. The Fabled Fourth Graders of Aesop Elementary School by Candace Fleming. Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing by Judy Bloom. Freckle Juice, also by Judy Bloom. Snot Stew by Bill Wallace. The Tiger Rising, Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane, Tale of Despero, and The Magician's Elephant, all by Kate DeCamillo. And The Penderwicks by Jeanne Birdsall. And that's all for that shelf. Moving on down, I mostly try to keep just my middle grade series on this shelf, but obviously I have some overflow here that are not series related. First is Midnight Magic by AVI. Lemony Snicket's Who Could That Be at This Hour, the first book in the All the Wrong Questions series. What the Dickens by Gregory Maguire. Children of the Lamp, the Akhenaten Adventure by P.B. Kerr. This is the first book in the series, I believe. Then I have all 13 books of the series of Unfortunate Events. I'll just show you the first one because it's on top. That's what it looks like. That's The Bad Beginning, book 1. I'm not going to pull out 13 out because I'm sure you've seen them enough to know what they look like. Next I have the Heroes of Olympus series, which is the sequel series to the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. First one is The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan. Next is The Son of Neptune by Rick Riordan. The Mark of Athena. And The House of Hades by Rick Riordan. And I don't own the 5th book, but I did check it out from the library, so I do intend to read it very soon, and then I will have finished the series. Next in here, I have my box set of the 7 books of the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. It's one of my favorite middle grade fantasy series ever. Book 1 is The Magician's Nephew. Book 2 is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Book 3 is The Horse and His Boy. Book 4 is Prince Caspian. Book 5 is The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Book 6 is The Silver Chair, and Book 7 is The Last Battle. And then here I have the 8-ish books of the Little House on the Prairie book set by Laura Ingalls Wilder. That's what it looks like. It actually was originally my mom's. That's why it's kind of well loved, as it were. The first one is Little House in the Big Woods, which I'll show you the cover of. That's what it looks like. The second one is Little House on the Prairie. Third one is Farmer Boy. Fourth one is On the Banks of Plum Creek. Fifth one is By the Shores of Silver Lake. Sixth one is The Long Winter. Seventh one is Little Town on the Prairie. Eighth one is These Happy Golden Years. And then there's like a short after novella of the first 4 years. These were 2 series that I grew up reading basically when I was a kid, and I love them to death. And then my really small children's books you see all down here. Let me know if any of you want me to do a bookshelf too for those. If you're randomly interested in children's books, I can do that separately.